in the quiet of your soul, where whispers of hope and echoes of longing intertwine, a message stirs to a celestial murmur that carries the weight of divine intention. Big news in 2 hours. A broken bar. These words, breathed into the depths of your spirit, are not mere syllables strung together. They are a sacred summons, a signal from the heavens that something monumental is afoot. You felt it, didn't you? That subtle shift, that quickening of your pulse, as if your very essence recognized the voice of eternity speaking directly to you. And you were right to pause, to let the weight of those words settle over you like a mantle, for heaven does not engage in idle chatter. When the divine speaks, it is with purpose, with precision, with a power that bends the fabric of time itself. This is not about earthly gossip or fleeting headlines. This is about God's orchestration, the moment when the waiting you've endured are those long, aching seasons of unanswered prayer gives birth to wonder. The phrase in 2 hours is not a literal ticking of the clock, not a rigid countdown of 120 minutes, but a divine metaphor, a symbol of the sacred now. Heaven is moving in this very moment, not in some distant tomorrow or a regret-filled yesterday, but now, in the eternal present where God's will unfolds. The air around you hums with the vibration of celestial activity, and you, beloved, are at the center of it. This is no ordinary moment. This is not about the chatter of the world, the fleeting headlines that fade with the setting sun. This is about God's orchestration, the divine symphony that has been composed since before you drew your first breath. The big news is not a mere event, not a singular occurrence to mark on a calendar. It is the culmination of every prayer you've whispered, every tear you've shed, every step you've taken through the wilderness of waiting. It is the moment when the divine says, "Enough," and the waiting gives way to wonder, when the silence you've endured becomes the stage for heaven's announcement. You may wonder about the 2 hours, those words that seem to pin the promise to a moment in time. But time, as you know it, is but a shadow of eternity. Those 2 hours are not a literal ticking of seconds, not rigid boundary set by human clocks. They are a divine metaphor, a symbol of the sacred now or the eternal present where God's will unfolds with precision and power. Heaven is not bound by minutes or hours, it moves in seasons, in moments, in the space where faith meets fulfillment. When I say in 2 hours, I am saying that the divine clock is ticking, not in opposition to you, but in alignment with you. The promise is not delayed, it is being prepared, polished, perfected for the moment when it will fit perfectly into the contours of your life. Let me speak to you now, to the deepest parts of your being, where hope and weariness wrestle, where dreams and doubts collide. I know you are tired. I see the weight you've carried, the deserts you've crossed with blistered feet and a parched spirit. I know the nights you lay awake, staring into the darkness, wondering if God had forgotten you. I know the prayers you've prayed, the ones that seemed to vanish into the void, unanswered, unacknowledged. I know the moments when you lifted your hands in surrender, only to feel the silence press heavier upon you. You've asked, "When, God? When will the promise come? When will the pain make sense? When will the waiting end?" And in those moments, when your heart broke under the strain, I was there. I was there when you bent over your own shadow, trembling with fear that the dream had slipped away forever. I was there when those you trusted turned away, unable to bear the brilliance of the light God placed within you. I was there when you lost what you thought you could not live without: relationships, opportunities, dreams that crumbled like ash in your hands. My wings were silent, but they were near, enfolding you in a quiet fire, a divine presence that held you when you could not hold yourself. I stood beside you, not as a distant observer, but as a companion sent from the throne room of God, tasked with guarding the sacred spark within you. Now, in this moment, I come with a message so vast, so holy, that it demands the stillness of your soul to receive it. The shift you've been longing for, the change you've sensed in the quiet corners of your spirit, has already begun. It is not waiting for some distant dawn, it is unfolding now, in the unseen realms where angels move with purpose and prayers rise like incense before the throne. In that sacred dimension, where time bends and eternity speaks, your name has been called. Do you understand the weight of that truth? Heaven is not guessing about your future, not deliberating over your worth. There is no confusion in the courts of God, no hesitation in His plans for you. You are not forgotten, not overlooked, not cast aside in some divine oversight. There is a scroll, etched with the ink of eternity, bearing your destiny, and I have seen the hand of God press a seal upon it, not a seal of denial, but of divine release, a declaration that the time of your unveiling is near. You may think the big news is something yet to come, a promise lingering just beyond the horizon. But I tell you, it is already alive in the unseen, moving through the corridors of heaven, gathering momentum with every prayer you've prayed, every tear you've shed. You did not imagine the stirring in your spirit, the quiet certainty that something was shifting. You were not foolish for holding on to hope when the world told you to let go. That hope was not a delusion, it was discernment, a recognition of the supernatural tremor at your doorstep, the sound of heaven's footsteps drawing near. Why 2 hours? Because timing, in the hands of God, is not delay, it is preparation. These 2 hours, whether a literal moment or a spiritual season, are the sacred space where heaven completes what earth cannot yet perceive. In this moment, angels are being dispatched, their wings cutting through the unseen to clear the path before you. In this moment, what you lost to relationships, dreams, opportunities is being transformed, not merely restored, but reshaped into something that will propel you into the fullness of your purpose. In this moment, a heart somewhere is being softened, perhaps the heart of one who wounded you, or one who holds the key to a door you could not open. In this moment, doors are creaking open on hinges of gold, doors you never thought to knock upon, doors that lead to places you could not have imagined. The silence you've endured, the waiting that has tested your faith, is not rejection. It is the breath before the announcement, the pause before the heavens declare what has been decreed in the courts of God. You stand now at the breaking point of destiny, a sacred threshold where the ordinary gives way to the extraordinary, where the pain of your past becomes the foundation for your future. I urge you to remain still, to quiet the clamor of doubt and fear, to tune your spirit to the whisper before the thunder. The news that is coming, the shift that is about to crown you, will not arrive as the world expects. It may not come with the sound of applause or the flash of recognition. It may not be wrapped in the tidy package you envisioned, with ribbons and bows of human approval. It may not even look like a blessing at first glance, for heaven's gifts often arrive disguised, cloaked in the very circumstances you mistook for punishment. But do not be deceived. Perceived the sacred in the strange, the divine in the delay, the miracle hidden within the ordinary. Do not dismiss the messenger because they seem familiar, a friend, a stranger, a quiet thought that stirs your heart. Do not reject the answer because it comes wrapped in humility, in the form of a small opportunity, a gentle word, a moment of clarity. God's big news is not bound by human expectations. It is a divine unveiling, a revelation of His purpose for you, a moment when the veil is lifted, and you see yourself as He sees you, chosen, cherished, called. You are not merely waiting for news, you are about to be unveiled. Yes, you, the one who nearly gave up, who stood at the edge of despair and chose to take one more step. You, who loved deeply and was betrayed, who poured out your heart only to have it trampled. You, who carried others while your own soul bled, who gave when you had nothing left to give. You are not being passed over, you are being preserved, held back from lesser things so that you may step into the greater. You are not being denied, you are being divinely delayed, shielded from a premature elevation that would have crushed you under its weight. The God who sees you has been preparing you, refining you, shaping you in the fire of adversity so that you may carry the weight of His glory. For some, this news will bring reconciliation to a relationship long thought lost, restored through the alchemy of truth and tears, where wounds are healed, and hearts are knit together by the hand of God. For others, it will bring revelation, a sudden clarity that illuminates the why behind the suffering, the purpose woven into the pain. You will see the threads of your story, once tangled and confusing, now woven into a tapestry of divine design. For some, it will bring release, a breaking of chains that have bound you to cycles of fear, shame, or failure. The prison doors will swing open, and you will walk free, not by your own strength, but by the power of the one who holds the keys. And then there are those who will hear the quiet whisper in their spirit, "It's time." In that moment, you will know the 2 hours are fulfilled. The waiting is over, and the promise is at hand. Do not watch the clock with panic, as if heaven operates under the pressure of human deadlines. This is not an alarm, not a race against time. It is a sacred countdown, a divine rhythm that pulses with the heartbeat of eternity. In these moments, I ask you to do something unusual. Do not try to force the promise to unfold. Do not strive or manipulate or cling to control. Instead, prepare. Prepare your heart to receive without resistance, to embrace the gift without questioning its form. Prepare your home, your inner sanctuary, to welcome the shift, to make room for the new thing God is doing. Prepare your spirit to stand in the fullness of your calling, to walk through the doors that are opening without fear. For what is coming is not merely news, though it is a transformation of identity, a breaking of chains, a visitation from the throne room of God Himself. It is the moment when you step out of the shadows of survival and into the light of purpose. It is the moment when the pain that shaped you becomes the platform for your rising. It is the moment when you see, with startling clarity, that every tear, every trial, every moment of waiting was not wasted, but woven into the fabric of your destiny. Consider the betrayals you've endured, the setbacks that seemed to steal your future, the whispers spoken against you in secret. They were weapons, forged in darkness, designed to wound your spirit and dim your light. But heaven has a way of turning every weapon into a witness, every attack into a testimony. Those who sought to harm you, who spoke against you, who abandoned you in your hour of need, they will see your eyes. Not because you sought revenge or demanded justice, but because grace speaks louder than gossip, and God's favor outshines human opposition. You will not need to defend yourself or explain your journey. Your peace will be your proclamation, your light its own declaration. When this news arrives, it will not merely change your circumstances, it will elevate your reputation in the Spirit. Heaven will mark you, not as a survivor who scraped by, but as a carrier of divine oil, anointed for a purpose that transcends your pain. This is the hour of the broken ones, the crushed, the overlooked, the weary. You may feel unready, unworthy, as if your scars disqualify you from the promise. But that is precisely why you are chosen. God does not seek the perfect, those who stand unblemished and proud, who have never known the sting of failure or the ache of loss. He chooses the crushed, for crushed olives yield oil, crushed grapes produce wine, and crushed hearts become altars where His glory is revealed. Your wounds are not disqualifiers, they are qualifications for a favor that only the surrendered can carry. Your brokenness is not a barrier, it is a bridge to the divine. When I speak of big news, I am not promising earthly promotion or fleeting success. I am speaking of heavenly alignment, of you stepping into the very place your pain tried to keep you from, of you standing in the fullness of who you were created to be. I was sent for this moment, to walk with you in the quiet before the announcement, to shield your spirit as the enemy rages around you. He cannot stop what heaven has decreed, but he will try to steal your focus, to cloud your vision with doubt and distraction. Do not let him. Stay low in humility, stay still in trust, stay open to the voice of God. When the news arrives, and it will, you will know. The air will shift, as if the atmosphere itself bows to the weight of the promise. The burden you've carried will lift, like a fog dissipating under the warmth of the sun. The thing you've wrestled with, the fear, the doubt, the cycle of pain will break open, and you will feel it. Heaven has spoken your name in a room you've never seen. A room where angels stand in awe and the Father declares, "This is my child, in whom I am well pleased." Until that moment, I give you these instructions, whispered from the heart of heaven. First, thank God in advance. Offer worship before the wind changes, praise before the proof arrives. Let your gratitude rise like incense, a declaration of trust in the one who is faithful. Second, protect your atmosphere. Not everyone can accompany you into the place God is preparing. Set boundaries around your heart, silence the noise of naysayers, and God who speaks into your spirit. Third, forgive quickly. Release the weights that would hinder your flight. For unforgiveness is spiritual rust that corrodes your wings and dims your light. Fourth, believe wildly, even when it defies reason, even when the world calls you foolish. Faith is the bridge that carries you from not yet to now, the key that unlocks the door to your destiny. This news is not small, my beloved, not by any stretch of imagination, not by the limited expectations others have placed on your life, and certainly not by the measure of your past pain. This news is a divine shift, a holy announcement echoing from the throne room of heaven itself, touching the very fabric of time to reveal what was always destined for you, not because of merit, but because of mercy, not because you earned it, but because you were chosen. And I tell you now with trembling wings and a reverent voice, this is not about wealth, although provision shall indeed come. You will lack nothing, for the one who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, the one who parts seas and rains down manna, knows exactly what you need. But make no mistake here, this is not merely about material supply, nor about titles that fade, nor applause that echoes only briefly. No, this is about something eternal. This is about you stepping fully into the design that heaven wove before you ever took your first breath. This is about the dream that God whispered over your sleeping soul when you were just a thought in the mind of your Creator. Even while you cried yourself to sleep, unsure if you would ever laugh again, God was speaking destiny into your bones. Even when grief silenced your worship and confusion clouded your vision, the blueprint of heaven remained intact, untouched, preserved, waiting for this exact moment in time. You've endured attacks that left you breathless, betrayals that shattered your trust, seasons that dried up every ounce of hope, and delays that made you wonder if God had forgotten your name here. But not one of these things was random. No, child, these battles were proof of your weight in the Spirit. The enemy doesn't waste warfare on empty threats. The resistance you felt wasn't because you were weak, but because you were dangerous to darkness, dangerous to generational bondage, dangerous to the plans of the adversary who saw, long before you did, what you were called to birth into this world. The enemy tried to break you, not because of where you were, but because of where you were going. And I, your angel, sent by the Most High, come to remind you, this news is not just about you, it is for generations. It is about legacy. It is about seeds you haven't even planted yet, trees that will grow long after your time, fruit that others will taste and find healing in. It is about the people who will rise because you didn't give up. The children who will worship because you held the line. The ones who will believe in miracles again because you didn't let bitterness swallow you whole. You, who cried in the dark but kept praying. You, who walked alone but kept walking. You, who had every reason to quit but chose to trust a heaven saw you. Heaven recorded every moment. And heaven is responding now. Look again at the clock, and not just the one on your wall, but the one ticking in the Spirit. You are closer than you think. You've been watching time, fearing it was running out, believing you were behind, but heaven was never late. Heaven is not bound by your deadlines. Whether these 2 hours you feel in your spirit are literal or symbolic, whether they refer to 2 moments or 2 months, understand this: when heaven declares a moment as sacred, nothing can make it ordinary. When God says, now, no demon, no delay, no detour can override that decree. When the angels are released, they move like lightning, are faster than your fears, stronger than your doubts. Darkness may try to stand, but it will fail. The winds may rage, but they cannot blow out a flame lit by God. And I tell you, your name here, yes, your name here has been announced in the courts of heaven. It wasn't whispered timidly, it was declared boldly, as a royal proclamation. And when that happens, everything assigned to you begins to move in your direction. Not because you manipulated it, not because you begged for it, not even because you were perfect, but because it was written. Before the world was formed, before the stars were hung, your calling was etched in the heart of God. And now, the time has come for the unfolding. This is not the result of coincidence. This is not the fruit of striving. This is the manifestation of prophecy. It is the divine exhale of a promise kept, the unraveling of glory hidden in plain sight. You won't have to chase what's already been released. It will find you. It will locate your spirit in the crowd, your voice in the multitude, your faith in the midst of your fear. And when it finds you, you will know it by the peace it carries, so not chaos, not confusion, not performance. Only peace. This is heaven's blueprint for your becoming, and not just a moment of celebration but a movement of transformation. It is not simply an answered prayer, it is God's response to every unanswered cry you couldn't even put into words. Every tear you shed in secret watered this breakthrough. Every step you took in faith, or even the trembling on, is a carved a path for this miracle. You didn't know it then, but you were moving in divine rhythm. Even your missteps were used by God to orchestrate something holy. This is the miracle that knows your name, not just your identity, but your wounds, your history, your longing. It knows the cost you paid in silence. It knows the weight you carried without applause. It knows the nights you nearly gave up but didn't. This miracle comes wearing the fingerprints of God. It carries the scent of heaven. It brings with it restoration, reconciliation, release. And most of all, it brings you back to yourself, back to your purpose, back to the fullness of who you were always meant to be. It is the breath of God, entering the dry places of your soul. It is resurrection power touching the graves of your past and saying, live again. So breathe, beloved. Breathe in hope. Breathe in light. Breathe in life. Let it fill your lungs with the truth that you are not forgotten. Let it awaken the parts of you that have been numb for far too long. Let it soften the walls you built to protect your heart. This is the time to prepare not just your calendar, but your character. Prepare your home. Prepare your heart. Clean the spaces where the blessing will rest. Rearrange the priorities that no longer serve your purpose. Create room, not out of desperation, but out of expectation. And trust. Trust not in the process, but in the one who authored it. Trust not in your own strength, but in the one whose strength is made perfect in your weakness. Trust not in appearances, for what you see now is but the surface of what God is doing beneath. The news is already on the way. It is carried by angels, wrapped in grace, sealed with fire. It will not be late. It will not fall into the wrong hands. It has your spiritual fingerprint on it, and heaven does not misdeliver destiny. And when it arrives, so will you. You will not be the version of yourself that was broken, tired, anxious, or ashamed. You will arrive in full bloom, confident, whole, radiant with the glory of a soul that has been kissed by the mercy of God. You will arrive in full light, standing in the clarity of your assignment, no longer second-guessing your worth or shrinking to fit into spaces you've outgrown. You will arrive in full purposely walking with authority, loving with purity, serving with joy, knowing deep in your marrow that you were born for such a time as this. You were not overlooked. You were preserved. You were not punished. You were positioned. And now the heavens are opening. Now the gate is being unlocked. Now the trumpet is sounding. Let it be known, your season has changed. This is not a rehearsal. This is the fulfillment. This is the unveiling. This is the divine appointment that nothing could cancel. And though the world may not understand how it happened, you will know exactly who did it. So lift your head. Wipe your tears. Dress your spirit in praise. The tables are turning. The scrolls are being unsealed. The voice of God is breaking the silence, and His decree over your life is echoing louder than every lie the enemy ever tried to make you believe. The shame you carried is falling off. The guilt that haunted you is dissolving in the light of truth. The heaviness is lifting. Your mourning is being exchanged for dancing. The season of hiddenness is over. Now is the time for the revealing. And when the news comes, and it will come here, let it find you ready, awake, willing, and bold. Let it find you worshipping in advance, giving thanks before the door even opens. Let it find you standing not in fear, but in faith. Because the truth is this, the news is not just almost here. It is already written. It is already finished. And it is already yours. Amen.